City Council of March 26, 2026, order at 4 p.m. The roll call.
Counselor Harden here. Counselor Terry MacDuff here.
Rob Ward here. Alan Pointer here.
Elaine. Elaine Armstrong here.
All right.
Of the United States of America. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. What?
All right, so presentation on the current software for utility bill.
Yes, so Barrett from Current Software was going to join us. I'm not sure where he is. So I'll do my best.
He just came in.
Oh, there he is. Thank goodness. Barrett, are you with us?
Hello, yes. Yeah.
Okay, you have impeccable timing.
Excellent. Glad to hear it.
Take it away.
All right. You guys already did the Pledge of Allegiance and everything.
Yes.
Sorry, I missed that. It's been a while since I've been involved in one of those. Okay. Where should I start? Courtney, have you kind of okay at the beginning? Okay, great. Well, we got introduced to you guys through Lane Council. It sounded like basically last year there's an initial search for a new utility billing system. And we made a proposal last fall. Sounds like you guys were considering another vendor as well, and then just got reacquainted in the past couple of weeks. We offer a software that works for utilities and cities to manage all their customer accounts, as well as the service location, service orders, outbound communications, the like. I'm happy to share my screen in a moment and show you guys a little bit about that, as well as a customer payment portal. So an option for your citizens to log in, view the usage on their accounts, as well as make payments, sign up for auto pay, receive alerts, all that jazz. I'd say typically we present normally just to kind of the main champions that work at the districts who then speak with the councils. So this is a little bit unusual for me. So I'd love to kind of pause there and ask what will be the most useful use of my time here. Do you guys just want to see the software, or are there questions you have for me right off the bat?
I think just kind of showing them what you showed me a little bit, just so they can kind of get a visual of the new software. And then we have some citizens here too. So
Oh, excellent.
because they're not just our counselors, like they're users and payees themselves. So
Okay, great. So I will share my screen then. Oh, it says sharing is not turned on, so I just sent request. Hopefully that comes through on your guys' side. All right, now it's working. Okay, great. Can you guys see?
yes.
Awesome. So
Kind
we got a
of.
couple sections here. I'll start with our utility facing side of the software, then we can show the citizen facing side as well. But this is your account list, which is kind of the common place you'd want to be internally managing your customers. So it's got a search bar here. You can treat it like Google. You can look up anything you like. So you can look up people by their account number. So here's an example where it kind of filters down to the specific people with those account numbers. You can search for people on their address, like Main Street. So we have 2 people living on Main Street, as well as people by their name. Was that a question?
No.
Oh, sorry, I thought I heard something. So here's an example here where we have the Robertsons. We have Juan and Susie, and so we can click into their account and have everything that we need about them, right here at our fingertips, right? So we have their information. We have billing data as well, which is probably going to come up on a call, as well as the ability to see their water usage in a graphical format, which is really, really helpful. Picture tells 1,000 words. And if somebody calls in about a high bill, right, they don't tend to call in about low bills. No offense to any of the citizens that are in the audience, but yes, the typical calls tend to be complaints about the bill being too high. We can see the bills in context of this year as well as even previous years. So if somebody calls in, in June, let's say, yes, that bill is higher than last year. Let me scroll back a little bit so it's like a little bit more centered. But our June bill is higher than last June's bill, but in comparison to May, it actually was a drop off. So maybe over the 2 months, there was just a shift in consumption from May to June or June to May based on an irrigation pattern or something like that. So it's the kind of conversation we can now have with our constituents because we have this information right at our fingertips next to all the other information about them. I'll pause here. Curious if this is, the right level of detail for folks, if I should zoom out, zoom in, or if anything comes to mind from what you've seen so far.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you don't have water, it's just gonna be straight.
Yeah, this particular, doesn't apply to us because we're not metered, but
Right.
yes.
Oh yeah, that's right. I always forget that. So you would see just a billing view,
Okay.
which would be more just the the actual usage. So you could see if there's been fees or something like that. You can kind of see the difference in bills over time. The other couple things I like to show that are, I think, universally helpful. One, we have, the ability to do service orders right here. So you can see all of those and where they are on the map. You can see where you are in the district. You can, use a Google Map integration if you like and see exactly where you're meant to be. I guess we're in this back alleyway. There's the property address, so we can kind of zoom in. That might be helpful to understand kind of what we're dealing with there. And then we also have contact information. So when you're dealing with complex situations, we might have two owners, we might have an owner renter. In this case, we have Juan and Susie. They seem like they have the same last name, but we have owner tenant. It could be like a parent and child situation. It could just be a marriage where that's just how they do things. But you have the ability to kind of manage multiple people's contact information on this account. And if you ever make any changes, like let's say Susie doesn't trust Juan anymore about receiving the bill and she wants to get a copy of the bill herself, we can go right in and change that receipts bill from no to yes. And that's going to automatically update in my activity feed. It'll take a second, but previously she'd called in and been taken off the bill list, but now she wants to receive it again. It shows that I made that change at this time. So always helpful to have that audit trail, and it's helpful to have it be automatic. So you're not, you can always add a note if you like here, add a comment. But sometimes it's nice to just have the system take care of that for you. Awesome. We have a number of other kind of modules here that are kind of worth diving into in a deep way, which we've done on some previous demos. But the one that might be interesting for the high level group is outbound communications. So this is something. Sorry, go ahead. Maybe there's an echo. Maybe I'm just hearing myself and I'm asking myself questions. Thought I heard somebody there. So the last module I want to show you guys on the utility facing side before we jumped over to the customer portal is outbound communications. So this is now an opportunity for you guys in a central way to get information out to your constituents. You can set this up to go out to all customers, or you can create your own lists. Like for example, here I have a list of everybody that's on Route 3 and is residential. Maybe there's a specific message that needs to go out to these folks. And so we can add those filters here on the right and see who falls into that category. And then if we want to send a message, we can create what's called a campaign. Here's a campaign that's in progress. And what you do is you pick who you want to send it to, and then you compose your message. And that can be email, text, or voice. And that's really handy because different people like to get information in different ways. If you have email, you have a little bit more to work with here. You have a subject line, you say urgent, boil notice, and then in the body, you can put, bold message, emergency, please adhere to the notice, and you can add attachments or whatnot. And then if you do an SMS or a voice, you obviously have a little bit more limited display options. Voice would just be like a robo voice, reading something aloud, but you have the ability to communicate with customers in multiple channels. And this is relevant for not just utility functions, but anything else that you might want to let them know about. Awesome. Any questions?
No.
Great. Then I'll hop over, just take a couple more minutes and show you guys the customer payment portal. So we manage this as well. It's going to have a similar look and feel, but we're obviously going to slim it down for just what the citizens need to see, which is primarily paying and reviewing their bills, especially in your guys' case where you don't have that consumption data. But here's a situation where I'm looking at my account number. There's space here if people want to have multiple accounts, like if they're a property manager and owner, they can see all their accounts at once and even pay multiple accounts at once. So that's really convenient. But on this one, we have, your account number, your last payment, you can go right ahead and pay your bill. I also can set up auto pay, which is that's right there on the homepage to try to encourage that. We've seen in our data that for every 6 people that sign up for auto pay, that's one less delinquent person. There's like a good correlation there. So we always try to encourage people to be signing up for auto pay as much as possible. It just kind of takes that guessing game out of it, and make sure that they're on time more often than not. So this is what the payment screen looks like. You can go right in, make a payment, let's say for $50. You can have a saved payment method. Oops, 50, not 51. You have a saved payment method. You can type one in from scratch. We take cards and bank accounts. We have an integrated payment processor that we would onboard you guys with, cards or bank account, or you can save a payment method and just go right ahead with that. And then in general, most utilities have the customers pay the processing fee. I mean, somebody's got to pay it. I know that in most cases, like a grocery store, the merchant pays it. So we can do it either way, but if you're going to have the customer pay it, we ought to show that to them so they understand the total amount is going to be slightly more than their bill amount just because of that credit card fee.
Is there still a fee if it's attached directly to the bank account, or is it just credit card?
So the credit card fee is 2.9%. And the ACH, there is a fee, it's 1% through our payment processor. But the benefit of going this route is that you will no longer be responsible for generating that banking file. That's typically what we see when you have that like direct connection is that you have a Nacha file that you guys are maintaining. There's bank account information in there that you're storing for people. And just as the world and regulations and cyber threats have evolved, there's just an advantage to having that go through a secured third-party platform, in our opinion. There's like kind of rules around how you're supposed to handle those files and delete them, and it's just one more thing to worry about both for you and for us. So that's why we go with a third-party processor that does have a fee, but it's lower than credit card. It's more like 1% instead of 3. So it's a good option for your constituents that want to be able to pay and get a lower fee. And it also comes with a lot of other automations. Like if it returns, it automatically sends notifications, automatically handles all those things. So I think it's a good trade-off.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, we also have that ability to see the usage, or in your guys' case, the bills, so you can see their bill history graphically, as well as like past bills. And all of these come with like a PDF, so you can view it. In this case, it's like a postcard, so you can see that version there. If you use full page billing, let me show you an example of what that would look like. Something like this. We have a number of templates. Postcard is for people that want to save a little money on the postage. The 8.5 by 11 just gives you more information on the bill. Doesn't matter what you use, but it's going to be consistent. So if you guys went with paper, full page paper, it would show the same for you and for the customer, just so that there's consistency, all throughout the system. Awesome. I don't know what my allotted time was, but it's been almost 15 minutes. So I'm happy to pause here for any questions or feedback.
I did have a question on what does ACH mean?
Automatic clearinghouse, and it's the bank-to-bank transfer. For when people put in their bank account information, we automatically draw from them to pay their bill.
Okay, so that's the 1% that, and so your paperwork that we receive says it's $1. So that dollar would go to the customer paying it, if whether it's a debit card, a bank account, or a credit card. Or a credit card goes up to 2.9%?
Yeah, let me see, I think I have it on our website here. Or yeah, I can just explain it. Yeah, the credit card fee is 2.9% plus 30 cents. And so it's based on the method. And credit card's more expensive because it has interchange. So Visa and MasterCard are taking like a higher percentage, I guess, versus just the bank-to-bank transfer. They're not a part of that. So it is a lower fee for the bank-to-bank transfer, ACH.
And then it says card utility paying is 2.2%. What's that?
So those are programs that Visa and MasterCard have extended where if the utility pays for the fee, then we can extend a lower interchange rate essentially to the customer. So if the customer pays the fee, it's that 2.9 plus 30 cents. If the utility pays the fee, I think what Visa and MasterCard are thinking is more people are going to take that option because they're not paying the fee. And so they're basically giving like a discount for that. So I wanted to make you aware of that. Most people don't go for it, if I'm being honest, because it means that the utility has to pay the fee instead, but it is a lower overall fee in the system, if that makes sense.
And by utility, you mean the city.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And so we would have to decide how we want it set up, who's paying it, right?
Yeah, you could change at any time. But yeah, just to get going, we just kind of need to know option A, option B. That's how we would get you started. And then you can change. And we've had folks do that where sometimes they say, we'll just pay the ACH fee. We want to have at least one free payment option. And so then they'll pay the ACH fee, but not the credit card fee. And so we can kind of mix and match like that as we move forward. But basically on a month-to-month basis, once you say, actually, we're going to cover the credit card fee, we alert the payment processor, and then that activates that lower fee for the district, for the city.
Okay. And your example in our paperwork we received was 1% on a payment of 50. So it'd be 1% on whatever our payment is, our bill is. And then is it a 50 cents on top of it? Or
Yeah,
is it,
there's always a variable and a percentage. So I think you're right. It's 50 cents plus the 1%. So if I'm remembering correctly, I gave you an example. Assume a $50 payment, assume a $100 payment, something like that. So that's just trying to draw the math out of
Okay.
what it would look like in that situation. Um, I do that just to put it in real person terms. Like if somebody got a bill for $50, what fee could they expect to pay? Which can kind of put things in perspective.
okay. All
Yeah.
right. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Awesome. Good questions on the processing fees. Okay. Any other questions?
The customer access, would that be through a link from our website or a separate website?
Yeah, the typical way we see it is that on your website, there's just a button to press pay your bill. And then from that button, they would come to us. So that would be, it would open up in a new window. And then what we do is we like to put your logo on the portal. So instead of our logo here, we'll put your logo and we'll have it, this URL we have control over. So instead of it just being a foreign thing, we could put like your city name so that it feels consistent with where they just were.
Anything else?
Yeah. I saw that you have cloud-based data storage,
Yes.
and is it on your own servers or are you using somebody else's cloud service?
Yeah, we use Amazon Web Services,
Okay,
and they have two locations. One's Oregon and one's Virginia, and we use the Oregon one, so close by to you guys.
okay. If we did contract with you for service and then someday, for whatever reason, we had to go to a different service provider, what is the typical cost and turnaround time of migrating data on your platform to a new platform?
Yeah, so in our terms and conditions, like your data is your data. So if you tell us that you're going to leave us, obviously we'll be sad about that. And then there's kind of like a 30-day countdown for us to provide your data to you. And then it would probably be incumbent on whoever you're switching to bring that data into their system. So we would make the data available in, a variety of formats like Excel sheets or a database backup. There's kind of a couple options there. And then it would be kind of incumbent on the next person to do whatever they need to do with that to get it into their system. So it would be at no charge. But obviously we're going to kind of hand it off to the next person for them to work into their system.
Okay. And then my last question, there seemed to be a little inconsistency in the written presentation that we had beforehand. On your page 5, it says that that there's an annual fee.
Mhm.
But then on your page 6, it looks like the renewal amount is the $700 a month times 12 months. So I'm wondering, is there actually an annual renewal fee? And if so, how much is it?
Yeah, let me pull up the same document. So I think the first thing I'll just say is that we present the numbers sometimes a monthly, sometimes an annual. Sometimes it's easier for customers to think about it on a monthly basis relative to the bills that they create and whatnot. But we do try to keep it simple and just do like a one-time annualized payment. So let me pull up the exact document. So you said page 5 versus page 6?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and you're wondering about this renewal amount?
Right, because the last item on page 5, it says terms, 1-year agreement,
Oh, yeah.
implementation fee, and annual fee due up front.
Mhm.
And so that has me wondering, is there an annual fee, but is that annual fee just the monthly fee that you quoted, or is there something in addition?
Oh no, it's just they're interchangeable. I just wanted to give you a sense of what it would look like if you wanted to renew. So, um, we offer a couple contract options. If you just want to go year to year, then that first year would be the annual fee plus, I guess, plus the implementation fee. So that must be the confusion there. So plus 4,500. So that was my mistake. And then we also offer this prorated option, where if you want to get aligned with your fiscal year, we can do like a non-standard term for you. So as an example, I guess I did this on March 16th when we'd initially kind of had the presentation. We could do it for April 1st instead, where you'd say, let's do April, May, June, 3 months at 700 plus the implementation fee, then reset in July. And that might be appealing because people want to get aligned on their fiscal budget year so that they have, the contract ending at the time when they're thinking about their budget, if they want to be contemplating a change. And it also might be easier if um, you've already committed your budget for this year. And so you just want to minimize what do you owe today and then kind of get a little bit of relief in July. So that's the difference between these two. And then I apologize for the math on this one. That was a good catch. The first year is just a little bit more because that the additional work to implement.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I do have one more question.
Yeah, of
Is
course.
you talked about a third-party secure
Yes.
site. If there is a breach,
Hmm.
what is the ramifications for the city?
So in terms of the payment data specifically?
Well, yeah, and is there any penalties or would we be liable for anything? Are there any consequences to us if we go with a third party, and it's secure and if you are ever breached? Is there anything that could come back on the city?
Yeah, so in our terms and conditions in general, there's like an indemnity clause which caps our liability in general to the contract amount. And although there's exceptions for gross negligence and those kind or criminal activity, things where there's a clear issue that's our fault, then it would be uncapped in our case. And then I'm going to presume it's going to be similar with the payment processor as well, because we would be going after them too if they had a breach. So I'm happy to look into that a little bit more if you're curious on the payment processing side of things. But for just kind of whether it's a frivolous suit that gets brought by somebody in the city, and we just have to all get together and fight it. Our indemnity would be capped at our contract value. That said, we've never had any claims like that against us, and we'd hope to settle any of those in arbitration anyway. Um, but I'm happy to look. Do you have a specific question on the payment processing that I can look into as a takeaway?
By people putting their information in, to be
Mm,
able to tell them that it's a secure third party vendor,
yeah,
it wouldn't be anybody hacking our system, it would be
right.
hacking yours, right?
Well, so yeah, so our third-party processor is called Phoenix, and they adhere to all the standards that would be required to operate this securely. There's one framework called SOC 2, another one called PCI, and so they adhere to those things, which involve a very high amount of encryption of data from side to side. So, as an example with payment processing, I actually don't have access to the customer information. If somebody puts in um, a credit card, I don't have access to this information beyond what you see here, payment ending in 1234. You wouldn't have access to that information either. So that does kind of simplify things. Like if we get hacked, for example, they're not necessarily getting credit card information because we don't have access to it. So there are some of these like Chinese walls built in for security. Um, and so I think that's another one of the benefits of processor that adheres to those highest levels of security.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure by encouraging people to do it, there's always a danger. I understand that, but we've done everything we can, due
Yeah.
diligence to make sure that we are not liable, right?
Right, yeah. Or that you're at a minimum minimizing the chances that something goes wrong. And I think there's a lot of benefits. And I'm happy to provide more information on our processor, if that seems to be an area of interest.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Never mind. Thanks, Elaine.
And then just, one more thing, the contract
Please.
start date that you have plugged in here is March 16th. And I'm assuming that would be adjusted to reflect when you do start, right?
Yes, I will adjust it for April 1st. I presented previously on March 16th, and I wasn't aware of this committee being on this at this time. So, we can definitely rewrite that to be April 1st.
Great, thanks.
Of course. Question for me, do you guys plan to deliberate and make a decision on this today? Or is it kind of a multi-week deliberation?
Yes, we do.
Great.
It's on the agenda tonight.
Love it. Love to hear that. All right. Any last lingering thoughts, questions, concerns, feedback?
No, thank you, Barrett.
March Madness picks? You guys have it up on the screen after I leave?
No.
All right. Well, I think there's some games in your guys' neck of the woods. I saw that Portland was one of the sections, so maybe you guys will get through the agenda items in time to see the tail end of some of the games. But thanks for having me here today. Really appreciate it, and feel free to follow up anytime with more questions if I can be helpful.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, citizens' comments, and I don't have the
Yes,
sheet, I don't know whether we got any or not. Anybody want to tell us anything? Okay, how's that by? So our first item is to approve a contract for these guys, for current software, and authorize the city of Portland to sign on behalf of the city.
Yes. Good evening. The city currently utilizes RVS, a traditional utility billing system that has been widely adopted by small municipalities and provides reliable core functions such as billing, account management, and reporting. While effective, RVS is primarily a locally managed system that relies more heavily on manual processes and third-party integrations to provide services such as online payments and customer communication. As a result, the overall customer experience and staff time is less than ideal. The proposed current platform represents a transition to a modern cloud-based utility billing and customer management system designed specifically for small utilities. Unlike RVS, Current offers a fully integrated solution that combines billing, customer accounts, service orders, delinquency tracking, reporting, and customer-facing tools such as online payments, auto pay, electronic statements, and other notifications within a single platform. This integration is expected to reduce manual workload with substantial staff time saved through automation of billing, payment processing, and delinquency management. Implementation is expected to take approximately 8 to 12 weeks and includes a structured process of data conversion, parallel testing, staff training, and system launch. Overall, while RVS remains a stable and proven system for utility billing, the current platform represents a modernization of the city's utility operations. It offers increased efficiency, improved customer service capabilities, reduces manual processes, and a more sustainable long-term solution through its integrated cloud-based design. The fiscal impact. The system requires a subscription of $700 per month and a one-time implementation fee of $4,500, which can be covered within Fund 07-500-034. And alternatives: to approve a contract with Current Software and authorize the city recorder to sign on behalf of the city. 2, to decline to approve a contract with Current Software. Or 3, table the issue and provide staff with further instructions. Staff is recommending alternative number 1.
All right, we have a motion.
I move we approve a contract with Current Software and authorize the city recorder to sign on behalf of the city. A second.
Seconded, any discussion?
I-
Hearing none?
Oh, wait.
The council on phone with them.
Oh, so are we going, I'm sorry, there's a delay. Are we going to decide on which are we going to do? Are we going to the ACH, the 1%? Are we going to offer the citizens an option to do a debit card and we eat the $1.50, or are we going to pass on all the fees to the people? We have to know before you sign the contract, right?
Not before we sign the contract. Regardless of which way we go, everyone will have the option to do either credit and debit or ACH. It's one, they can do either with it. What we need to decide is whether or not we're going to charge the customer the processing fees for the payments, or if the city is going to pay them. And currently, that fee is passed on to the city with our current payment software. That when they pay by credit card, there is I believe it's 1.5% fee that is in addition to their payment.
And he had talked about the ACH is where they use a bank account. It comes out of the bank account or debit card. So he says that if we decide on that, then the customers would have a choice of making a payment with no fee. I just want to make sure. What everybody thinks? If we should offer, that way you get copies of bank accounts. I mean, they may be more prone to sign up, or I don't know. I was just,
I feel like it's pretty common for the payer to pay that fee.
okay.
And they have the option of paying from their bank account or their debit or credit card, so they can choose if they want the higher fee or not.
Yeah, and they'll still be able to continue to send in a paper check for us to enter if they don't want a fee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okie doke. That's all I had.
That sounds like the company's fee is actually less than what people are paying now, a little bit, but.
So I gotta pay 3 something for the fee when I pay online now.
Now it depends on how much your bill is, and if it's less than
Right.
$50, it's a $2 charge, if it's 50 to 100, it's a $2.50 charge, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Steps up.
Okay.
No.
I think it's like 200
I-
or 250.
Couple
It's
of
220.
comments. On our packet, page 24, which is the first page of the order form contract. Near the top of the page, it correctly identifies the customer as the city of Lakeside, Oregon.
Mhm.
But toward the bottom of the next page, packet page 25, it says the customer is the Lakeside Water District.
Is the Lakeside Water District thinking about switching over to?
I doubt it.
I don't know if this is a concern, but it's at minimum an observation. The terms for termination of the contract, it says customer may terminate the order form up to 30 days before the commencement date. Which is, if we have an April 1st commencement date, then we don't meet again before commencement. And then
Correct.
once commencement happens, there's no possibility of termination. You're locked in for 15 and a half months.
Okay.
I don't know if we want to add something based on performance in there or just go with it.
No, I can have them update that. I would assume it would be 30 days after the commencement date, meaning we have 30 days to change our mind.
Once training and stuff starts.
Yeah, and then I was also noticing like the annual escalator is kind of vague, so I'm gonna see if they won't lock that in. If we're doing a year contract, I don't see why they can't lock it in at 5%. So. Because 5% or rate of inflation, whichever is larger, is a little concerning, because we need to be able to budget ahead of time. And I don't want to find out later, halfway through the budget cycle, that the inflation rate's 15%. So.
All right, anything else? Hearing nothing, Let's vote. All in favor?
Counselor Harding, aye. Mary McDuff, aye.
Rob Ward, aye.
Alan Pointer, aye.
Counselor Armstrong, aye.
Motion passed.
And before you sign, you're gonna take care of those little.
Yeah, I still have to update the date, so.
Okay, what we need to approve a contract with Genesis Construction for the replacement of an ADA compliant door at the Lakeside Library and authorize the city recorder to sign on behalf of the city.
Good evening. The existing ADA compliant entrance door at the city library needs replacement. The current door and frame, including the automatic door opener system, are no longer functioning and require a replacement to ensure continued accessibility and operation for the public. The attached scope of work proposes to remove and replace the existing ADA compliant glass door and associated components. The scope of work includes removal of the existing glass door, disconnecting and removal of the automatic door opener and related hardware, and removal of the existing door frame. The door opening will be inspected and prepared for installation of a new system. New framed glass door will be installed, including new glass panels, and the automatic door opener will be reinstalled and calibrated to ensure proper function. The installation will be completed to meet ADA requirements, including appropriate clearances, threshold height, and door operation force. Final adjustments will ensure proper alignment and reliable operation. Funding has been identified in Fund 21-5060. Alternatives are to approve a contract with Genesis Construction for the replacement of an ADA compliant door at Lakeside Library and authorize the city recorder to sign on behalf of the city. 2, decline to approve a contract with Genesis Construction. 3, table the issue and provide staff with further instruction. Staff is recommending alternative number 1, and I would like to add that Genesis Construction is the first one in at least 6 months that has even been willing to come out and give us a quote for this, so. Yes.
All right, do we hear a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve a contract with Genesis Construction for the replacement of an ADA compliant door at Lakeside Library and authorize the city recorder to sign on behalf of the city.
I'll second that. Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I have a question. Now we're taking it from Fund 21, which is the library. Doesn't our contract with them say that the city is responsible for building and maintenance? Is it because they have offered to pay for it? I just want to know why it's coming out of Fund 21.
Well, Fund 21 is the library fund for the city.
Okay, but the contract they have with the city says that we provide the building and the maintenance and repairs and stuff. I just want to make sure that they don't have a problem with it coming out of their fund.
So my understanding of the city budget is that the library maintains their own funding through the Friends of the Library, and what is included in Fund 21 is city funding for the library.
No, the city doesn't give the library any money. It's all out of their library funds, and it's just broken down. I just want to make sure that they won't come back and say, why did you take the money out when it's a maintenance repair problem?
I will verify with Cheryl and Dennis, but that was my understanding of what Fund 21 was.
I had heard that they offered and volunteered to pay for it. If that was the case, I think it should be noted for the record so nothing comes back later and they say, why did they take it out? That's all.
Okay, I will verify with Cheryl.
Okay. And are they going to be required to get the construction company required to get a building permit? Because I don't see it in their bid.
I don't believe the replacement of an ADA door requires a building permit, does it, Rob? To your knowledge?
Replacement of an existing door?
Yeah.
No, that doesn't require.
Yeah, so because they're replacing an existing door, so it doesn't require a building permit.
Okay, the city in the past just made the seniors get a permit for the deck they were replacing. And I know Sharon always says any construction company doing business had to have one, so I just was checking on that.
Now, any contractor doing business in Lakeside has to have a Lakeside business license. That doesn't mean every bit of work that's performed requires a building permit.
Okay,
Anything else? All right, let's vote on this.
Counselor Martin, aye. Barry Macbeth, aye.
Rob Ward,
Alan Pointer, aye.
Counselor Armstrong, aye.
Motion passed. Camping regulation. Discussion item.
Yeah, so I brought this to council at a work session, and then I drafted the proposed ordinance 26-316. And I had a lot of questions from counselors and community members. And so essentially I asked council to table the matter and brought it back to work session so that we could discuss it. And so I know that there was some questions about, specifically, there was a question about whether or not we could both tow their supposed motorhome and fine them, and that is considered illegal under Oregon's new laws. We cannot essentially tow their home for violating the ordinance and fine them for violating the same ordinance. So it's kind of one or the other. Reaching out to other cities, they kind of do one or the other. They either have a fine or they simply tow or take possession of the person's belongings. So, Gary Darnell, our attorney, did review our current campaign ordinance, and specifically, we cannot outright prohibit camping within an entire zone, i.e. the commercial zone. That is also not specific. So it's known as the time, place, and manner laws. So we have to dedicate a time, a place, and a manner. And so saying you can't camp in the general commercial zone is not sufficient.
You have to have a specific place to tell them to go.
That has also come up, and in talking with someone this morning, it was brought up potentially, as you all know, the Presbyterian Church operates a bi-coastal, which is essentially a homeless shelter. And to partner with them potentially, to use that as our identified place where people can go to stay warm and dry.
So would we draw up a contract with them then?
Yes, and I was thinking potentially we could just discount their sewer rate.
Because that's a private, and we're supposed to have it on a city designated.
So it's my understanding that we just have to designate an area. So obviously this just came up today, so I haven't had a lot of time to research it. But I know that in other cities that have, services like homeless shelters and whatnot, they weren't necessarily required to provide a place on city property if those services were available. So.
Well, that'd be good. It's a
Yes.
good option.
Yes, and then we do have the lot out.
So there's
south side.
3115, right? That's what
Yeah.
we're trying to fulfill.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. But I mean, we do have the lot out south second or fourth, whatever it is, third, second, somewhere out there.
You have a what?
We have a lot.
A lot,
Yeah.
but that's. So we have to supply dry. That's not always dry.
Don't laugh. It's the only common city property we
They can
have.
Park there, but it may not.
Well, this is specific, so this is not for vehicles. This is,
The walking, right?
yeah, this is not for people that have tents or vehicles. This is for pedestrians that
Oh.
essentially have nothing to keep them warm and dry.
I was under the impression that it was a place for them to park.
No.
And the warm and dry thing, that's so you can have designated hours, right?
Mhm.
Is that right? So like you can say 8 o'clock at night until 8 o'clock in the morning, right?
Yep.
You just
Yeah.
have to give them is it a place to sleep,
A place to stay warm and dry.
warm and dry?
Yeah. Yeah, and so like they would have hours and they can't leave anything behind. So they can't like set up for the night, leave for the day, and then come back. Like they have to take everything with them.
So
So
reasonable time, place and manner.
mhm.
Preserve the ability of cities to manage public spaces effectively for the benefit of the entire community. And it just has to be objectively reasonable. And since we have nothing,
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, I honestly, I don't consider City Hall to be objectively reasonable. We have a library, we have a senior center, we have a park.
Yeah.
That is not objectively reasonable to allow people to camp.
we have airport,
Cannot be on the airport.
no,
No.
Well, if we
There
can
you have
partner with the church.
Yeah. So, I mean, potentially it's an option.
so will you come back then with that information?
I can do that, yeah.
Courtney,
Yeah.
on your, I think that's a great idea you had, and if we could work something out with them. But on your January 22nd, 25, information only that you presented in January,
Mm-hmm.
you wrote that the city's existing ordinance has been reviewed by legal counsel. The city council has advised that the ordinance is generally constitutional in part because it applies to a single zoning district. However, because it didn't address the 3115, which hadn't passed yet, don't all we have to do is just add the 3115 language into our, just amend our current camping ordinance and we'd be good? Because if we repeal it, I think that we are not addressing the vehicles, because even though in the camping one, you say vehicles are considered camp facilities,
Mm-hmm.
nowhere else in that ordinance do you address camping facilities. And you just said that it's for homeless people on foot. So I think we should consider just amending the 20-291 to add the new section that addresses the 3115. It's something I think we should consider, because then you're taking away us addressing vehicles.
My reading of the current draft differs from your understanding. If you look at the definitions, it says camp facilities include but are not limited to tents, bivouacs, huts, other temporary or portable shelters, and vehicles or recreational vehicles.
Absolutely, it says that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But where else in it does it say camp facilities other than when it says on number C, unattended vehicles?
If you
It's
look
not
at-
addressed anywhere else in it.
If you look at the definition of camp or camping,
Mhm.
then pitch, erect, create, use, or occupy camp facilities for the purposes of habitation. So a person who is camping inside a camp facility, which could be a vehicle or a recreational vehicle, is covered by every section of this draft that mentions camp or camping.
Camping has a different definition.
I just
And
read,
so
I just read you the definition from the actual draft.
I see it too. Camp or camping means to pitch, erect, create, or use or occupied camp facilities, which for the purpose of habitation.
Right. And
Camp,
camp facilities includes vehicles or recreational vehicles.
but then look down on number C, which is on page 35, which says number C, except as expressly authorized by the City of Lakeside Municipal Code, it shall be unlawful for any person to store camp facilities, that's the vehicle, and camp paraphernalia unattended on any public property. So if they're inside the vehicle and don't move and living in the vehicle, what are we going to do?
If they're inside the vehicle and living in the vehicle, they are camping there. And if you look at B, it says it shall be unlawful for any person to camp or maintain a campsite on any public property during the hours of 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. So they can't be there in the daytime.
Yeah, so it's a multi-point ordinance essentially. Like we identify it's a vehicle and they're using it as a camp facility, which includes camping. And then if it's there after 7 a.m. or before 9 p.m., it's in violation of our code and we can force them to move. If they then leave it unattended on any public property, regardless of the time or place, that is also against our code.
I just want to be sure it's enough. You know, it has to be enough because we don't have any enforcement. So if we don't do this correctly, then we're gonna be stuck with the same problem we have now.
Okay.
So we can't be ambiguous about it. We have to just.
Courtney?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I muted myself. If you look at ORS 195.520, camping by individuals living in vehicles, can you please look at it? Because it says that entities providing camping spaces under this section. So if we tell them, give them a place to park, this section must also provide access to sanitary facilities, including toilet, hand washing, and trash disposal facilities. Would we be then falling under that? I'm just checking.
My understanding from reading that statute, and I'm not an attorney and haven't played one on television, but it's my understanding that the section you just read applies when someone is camping on public property and you tell them, no, you can't camp there. And what this draft says is technically you can camp on public property at night after 9 p.m. and before 7.
Yeah.
Which is different from saying, no, you can't camp there. Now, if we were to say you can't camp on public property, then we would have to establish a piece of city-owned property for people in vehicles to camp, and we would have to provide them with facilities.
So we don't want that, right?
I'm guessing that's why this draft doesn't outright prohibit camping in a vehicle or an RV. It just sets hours. And I didn't ask the city attorney about that, and we don't have a telepathic link with that.
So is that something we should check then?
I can certainly do that.
Anything further?
But I had a suggestion, on our package page 34. The last definition we have in there talks about top of bank. And there's a section in the ordinance that aims to have people not camping along the shoreline.
Mhm.
And so there's top of bank means the point at which the slope of a stream bank abruptly changes to a flatter grade, marking the transition from the active channel to the adjoining upland channel or upland area.
Mhm.
And not only does that seem kind of subjective, but we have a similar definition in our proposed floodplain code that we're working on, which is the ordinary high water mark. And that's the line on the shore established by fluctuations of water and indicated by physical characteristics such as a clear natural line impressed on the bank, shelving, changes in the character of soil, destruction of terrestrial vegetation, the presence of litter and debris, or other appropriate means to consider the characteristics of the surrounding areas, which also sounds kind of subjective, except the state has established natural elevation for us in Lakeside. And it's 12.2 feet of elevation above sea level. So if we were to use the ordinary high water mark instead of top of bank, that might be a little more usable. And if we did make that change, then we'd have to change top of bank to ordinary high water mark wherever top of bank appears in the draft. And currently, it only appears on packet page 35, item number 7. It's the very first line on packet page 35. It says within 100 feet of the nearest edge measured from top of bank.
I can do that.
And we're gonna have to know where the ordinary high water mark is anyway, or before seeing the floodplain ordinance. And nothing else.
Anything further? All right.
Um, so I reached out to our engineer of record, Dyer Partnership, who provided me with their files on this topic. Which I picked out some of the information provided. And it does look like that back in 2019, our city engineer and the city manager at that time, Andrew Carlstrom, reached out to DEQ, which would be the Department of Environmental Quality, which oversees wastewater systems across the state. And it was determined that it was in the best interest that the city assume ownership of Osprey Village Sewer. In speaking with our attorney, he obviously still has some concerns about the cost to the city and how it would work considering it's a private system off of a private system that isn't directly connected to the city. He was not able to be here tonight, so he is doing some additional research to kind of help us with the next steps.
Okay, and for clarification,
Mhm.
roughly half the lots in the development are on a private system, connected to a private system that's then connected to the city. And the other half are on what is technically a private system connected directly to the city. It's not connected to that
Okay.
private network.
Okay.
I also noted that in engineers discussion, he was talking about the city would need to look at what the rates would be for the properties because some of the lots have RVs and some of them have actual buildings. And I don't think that's necessary because the lot owners there have been paying the full residential rate for years for all the lots.
Go ahead.
Rob, do you know how many units are there out in your village now?
By units, do you mean lots with sewer connections?
Yeah, how many, yes, residents, because there was phase one, which had 19, and then phase two was projected up to 100.
Like there are a total of 55 lots at the moment, of which 53 have sewer connections.
53. So Courtney, you said in your thing that it was best interest or recommended, but is it by law required of us to take it over?
Gary, our attorney, is still not absolutely certain. He did reference the same ORS that Rob did at the last meeting regarding the common sewer system. But then it gets a little confusing when it's a private system inside a private system and part of it's connected to the city and part of it's not. So Gary's recommendation was that we actually reach out to DEQ and find out, basically get access to their files from those years and figure out if it was just like DEQ felt it was best that the city take it over, or if DEQ was saying we were mandated to take it over.
Okay. Because when they built the village in 1998, they may be grandfathered in to any ORS or laws back then.
Yeah, so right now we still have some unanswered questions moving forward with a little bit of mixed information, but
In this information we have provided here,
Mhm.
this is the bylaws.
Mhm.
The declaration for Osprey Point Village Plan Community. And then we have, the articles and so on, but on page. So I don't know, I tried to read through this stuff. And on page 64. 1.13. Down at the bottom, it says declarant's business entity, declarant will retain title to underground utilities, water and sewer, and be responsible for maintenance of same. Maintenance of utility lines within a lot shall be the lot owner's responsibility.
yeah, so that's if I'm reading it correctly, like at the city, like your house connects to the city line, and up until that point, you're responsible for that line. By reading that, it means that the lot owner is responsible for the portion of the sewer line that comes off the main private line to their lot. So if something happens on their lot, they're responsible for it. But if it happens on like the main line, they're not responsible for it.
But it's a private planned community,
It's plain, yeah.
so it's all private roads and stuff.
Right, so if this were to move forward, the city would have to get easements, a lot of easements.
I think we are just lacking information that we need to have. Rob, do you guys have a architectural control committee and stuff like that?
No, we don't.
Because the page 67, it says a plan approval will be required from the Architectural Control Committee and the Association Board of Directors. So I just didn't get that.
Right, so, that's how the original developer drafted this declaration and these bylaws. There's no documentation of any architectural control committee having ever existed. And there was no board of directors for the association until 2023.
But you were talking about how like there's dwellings over some of the systems and the road and like that, and so I couldn't harmonize the architectural control committee. And then you,
Yeah, so the idea with the architectural control committee. In this document, there's a whole bunch of standards for development. Like, you can't have sliding doors and you can't have a metal roof,
Yeah.
and things like that. And so it was, that committee was supposed to review people's plans for building on their lot to make sure it conformed with the standards inside here. And that if it didn't conform with those standards, they could recommend a variance. And then this is an internal.
and so none of that happened.
Yeah, none of that happened. What actually happened was, as when the original developer still owned the RV park, people would go to him and say, I'd like to do this on my lot. And he'd say, sure, go ahead. And that was it.
So that was the architectural.
If there
That's
wasn't,
Mike. He was the committee.
So, well, see, I've got that circled a couple of places with a question mark. Because you're not exceed 400 square feet unless waived by the declarant, the Association of the Architectural Control Commission.
well, the declarant was the original developer and owner of the RV.
Yeah, that's what you just said.
So he gave himself the authority to say, yeah, go ahead.
And then there's setbacks.
Yeah, that's interesting too, because he didn't really have authority to establish setbacks, the city does. Fortunately, his setbacks are all the same as the ones that the city established, except for the rear lot setback. But the original developer applied for a variance for the rear yard setbacks and the planning commission granted them.
Then
On,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, on page 95, number 3, it says that you have said that the city could bill for the sewer, but it says in here we can't because it's a tee-off.
again, it was effectively a tee-off during phase 1 and 2 of development. Phases 3, 4, and 5 are all on a separate line that go directly to a city main and don't connect to any pipes in common with the RV resort.
But we don't bill those accounts.
And the city does not bill those lot owners. The RV park bills those lot owners, and then the RV park pays the city's bill.
So we wouldn't be able to bill any of phase 1 or phase 2 is because this bylaw says we can't.
Well, the bylaws would essentially have to be changed,
Mhm.
or new laws would override it automatically. Like if it's legally determined that the city of Lakeside is mandated to take over these lines, these bylaws become null and void. To the extent they apply to the sewer system.
Mhm.
So we're waiting on what? What are we waiting? The attorney to say something?
Yes, we're waiting on additional research.
All right. Yeah, this is public.
I bet it's gonna come up again.
Oh, that's fine, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so,
I
yeah,
I
I
just
don't know. Guess you like,
I just have one more. It says that they talk about in your contract that your bylaws, that there is a special fund you guys are supposed to be paying into for major constructions, capital outlay, capital expenditures. There's an assessment reserve. You're supposed to have a reserve account. Do you guys have a reserve account?
The association can only have a reserve account if it owns common property. It owns no common property. It can't make any capital improvements. It can't expend funds for maintenance and repair.
Okay, because it says they describe common property because it's all private and Osprey owns the private roads. And it talks about your association being responsible for the common property. And your exhibit shows B that all of it's a private property or common property, that you should be having a reserve account for capital outlay.
Respectfully, you've misread the document, which is
Okay.
not any reflection on you. It's a reflection on the poor quality of the document. But the common property is actually described in that document as a piece of real property. When Mr. Smalley first put the development together and drafted this thing, he described an area of land and he said, this area of land is the village. And then at some point, when he was done developing it, whatever was left over from that piece of land was supposed to be deeded over to the association as common property. Now, there is actually a small piece of residual property at the east end of the village that is legally the common property, but Mr. Smalley never deeded it over to the association. And the current owners of the RV park recorded a deed to hand it over to the association, and the county rejected it because there was no legal description of the lot to be conveyed. So as of this time, legally, there is supposed to be common property, but it hasn't been deeded over to the association. If and when it is deeded over to the association will have to get liability insurance in case somebody injures themselves on it. But they won't have to establish a reserve fund because there's nothing on the property to be maintained, repaired, or improved.
Okay.
The short answer is there's no reserve funds.
Okay, even though your bylaws say that there's even supposed to be $5 a month going into a reserve.
It says there's supposed to be $5 per lot per month for road maintenance, even though the association does not own a road. And those funds are paid by the lot owners, not the association.
Mm-hmm.
That money goes directly into the reserve account that's held by whoever owns the RV park.
Right.
So the association has no control over those funds and no access to them. It's not their account.
Because Osprey Point is responsible for everything until 75% of all the lots are sold.
No,
Okay.
the Osprey Point RV Resort is on paper responsible for the water system, the sewer system, and the roads, maintaining them. The current RV park owner disputes all of that.
I'm sorry, is what?
He disputes all of that.
Oh, disputes it, okay. Yeah, because on 6.6, on page 83, it talks about a turnover meeting that once 75% of lots association will be he's supposed to turn the balance of the property, whatever, over to your association. So, yeah,
That's correct. And it never happened.
that's right. But if only 53 lots are sold or 55, that's not 75% of the 100.
Well, okay, first, there will never be 100. And secondly, under applicable state law, the turnover has to happen when 75% of the lots then in existence in the development have been conveyed. And that would have happened early in phase 1, before phase 2 was even started. So technically, that turnover was legally required when 75% of the original 19 lots had been conveyed. And I can tell you when that was if I go look in my notes, if you really need to know, but it's many, many years ago.
Okay, so Osprey Point they haven't done it. So, okay. I was just wondering because it talked about who's responsible and who's not.
For what?
Well, that's not 25 miles an hour. Most of the person, but.
Anything else?
No.
Well, we will move on to an executive session. Correct, pursuant to ORS 192-660-50, to consult with counsel concerning the legal rights and duties of a public body with regard to current litigation or litigation likely to be filed. So at this point, our regular meeting is adjourned, and we're going into the executive session. And the audience is going to need to depart. We're going to take a 5-minute break.